So it's essentially it's not leveling the playing field, but it's enabling me to compete with them by having those kinds of insights.
To Lead is a remote-first company based out of Canada.
What makes a world-class Microsoft 365 intranet and digital workplace?
So let's talk about Insights. So Viva Insights is a new capability from Microsoft. It's part of the employee experience subset. There's lots of different employee, Viva Insights experiences, from personal ones to organizational ones. I'll just click through. I won't really talk about all these for now because we'll probably go back and forth on them. But there's like personal ones to stay connected to your peers, booking focus time and managing your collaboration workload, looking at like how connected you are with employees for managing, have I had a meeting, right, with an employee of mine in my own working group? How effectively are managers and employees meeting? Maybe at an organizational level, I could look at those kinds of metrics and insights, especially with remote work. That becomes really valuable. Things like the length of meetings, the number of attendees in meetings, things that we can easily assess, right, based on meetings insights and data sets, or how people work outside their working group. We mentioned networks and employee networks and the importance of that, or things like after hours work and how's that distributed and how's that managed. And even all this can be brought at the employer level, where at the employee level, like the very, very large organizational level, we can start to think about like what's empowerment mean, right? And how is that potentially represented from digital signals, right? If someone's in meetings without their manager, arguably, you could suggest that might show more empowerment than always being in every meeting with a manager, right? And so, there are different signals like that we can look at, in a holistic way. So lots to talk about. The list goes on and on for Viva Insights. When you think of your own experiences thinking about these new changes from Microsoft with tools like Viva Insights, what are you finding, is resonating? How are you starting to think about it with customers? How are you personally, using these things? I'd love to know a little bit more.
Yeah, the workplace analytics and analytics of yourself in general is not something new, right? Microsoft kind of packaged it all together in Insights. I think it started picking up quite a lot more when COVID hit, because that's when I needed to know as a user myself and also as a manager as to what's really going on. Now, the previous method of doing this thing, I hate to say it, but was let's do surveys or let's ask people. But come on, reality is many times you will not get the answers you're really looking for. You will ask a question, you will get an answer. It's going to be very much about maybe a person just checking the box and saying, yeah, 6, 10, whatever, with one my NPS score. But when you're looking at insights, it's about behavior, right? What has already happened? You're looking at the past and some forecasts of the future, some insights, basically, quote unquote, of what is possible. And I think that's super important to understand not what people are telling you, but what are they actually doing? And what can you do as a manager, or maybe yourself as a user, to change things? So, understanding, for example, if I'm in meetings 30 out of 40 hours, like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that. Where's my time going? Let's go ahead and set some time apart. Or if my 10 people, 100 people who are working under me and they're doing the same thing with meetings or things like that, let's go ahead and take some proactive action. Those things were not as clear before COVID, before Insights and all. Now, having said all that, I'll also throw one more thing in here, Richard, and everybody else out there. We have to be careful as to not cross any privacy boundaries when we're doing this stuff, right? Some of the stuff, when I talk about this thing in Europe, for example, there's a lot more hesitation, a lot more pushback as to, why would we deploy this thing? And people will know exactly who's doing what. And even though there are no names specifically associated with that, we know, looking at the behavior, who's doing what, because we have a 20-person team, and I can tell if Asif is doing this or Richard is doing this or, Susan is doing that. So there is some hesitation, and it's all valid. So we have to be careful to not cross that privacy boundary, because then if you target someone specifically about something that they're doing, that's going to backfire on you, and that's not really going to be helpful. So.
Yeah, I think there's sort of real stuff there, and then there's confusion, right? So what's my favorite example? So I hear, I'm paraphrasing this, but I hear sometimes from people like, okay, but email and meeting load, right? Email meeting load don't represent work and effort load, right? So wouldn't the data maybe be suggesting the wrong insight, and that could cause its own problems? And I think, kudos to Microsoft. I actually think that they're doing a pretty good job with this, because what they're doing is they're saying the emphasis isn't on, things like I said, that meeting load and emails, the data sets they're using a lot. What their emphasis is on things like focus time to help improve behavior or digital patterns that reduce barriers or provide a reduction in extra overhead that often we get when we use digital tools. And so if the emphasis is on detecting those patterns that can free up or enable better work, then that's almost always only supportive, positive, and additive. It's very hard for that kind of an approach to lead to negative, because the goal is not to say, you're not collaborating enough, or you're not working effectively, et cetera. It's to say, hey, this is what we're seeing, nudge wise. Is there something that we could do that might be better, that would free up or remove a barrier? And so the examples, that we can kind of click through here, I think a lot of them, they meet this criteria, right? Because, we're not saying that this is bad, that 30% have less than 15 minutes of one-on-one time. We're saying that this is what we're seeing. And so if you take this metric, this kind of metric at a personal level, and we'll talk about privacy rules in a second, and you make it available as a manager for me to reflect on, that might encourage me to improve how I work. So actually, if you don't know this, in my analytics, to your point, the things we've had for a long time, I can actually see you, Asif, when was the last time we had a one-on-one, and how long has it been, and things like that. You can even do it with external parties, and it's very helpful for me, right, as an individual. Why? Because I have access to that data. If I could better explore my calendar, I would be able to get all those insights. It's just doing it for me at a snap of a button. It's not new data. It's data I always had. It's just some people have an advantage than I might have, because they might be more digitally excellent or dexterous, and so they're able to do more with those digital skills. So it's essentially it's not leveling the playing field, but it's enabling me to compete with them by having those kinds of insights. So the personal insights typically are a non-issue here, and even to a degree, the manager insights, when they're broad enough, when the group size is large enough, tend to be less of an issue here. So there is a couple quick notes maybe I'll just make for reference for those who are curious, that there are design decisions with Viva Insights that are designed for that. I'm just trying to grab the actual data. I had it open here. Sorry, around how many people can be in a collection. Yeah, it looks like it's closed, whatever. But it's nine plus. It has FUD data, fake data that's added to it. That's not going to affect the accuracy of the prediction of 30% or whatever, but definitely makes it hard to figure out who's who, because it creates false signals for that. So there's lots more to discuss, but I actually think, generally speaking, Microsoft's approach here, I think really removes a lot of the concerns around privacy because of that. And of course, you can always do things like on the back end, make sure every user account is anonymized. Even the groups can be anonymized. You can reduce more and more of that visibility on the data analysis side. But yeah, it's very true. It's powerful, but maybe one of the things that might hold us back is our comfort, familiarity with this kind of approach. And so I hope to see continued excellence on the personal analytics, and I hope to see more experimentation and exploration, I think, for organizations on the leader and organizational insights. But yeah, it's a good challenge example.